So if you just get up to the top, then we'll put the ladder actually in the tank if you like.
Oh, okay.
Would that make it easier for you to get in? Because I don't want you to sort of just like...
Oh gosh.
I don't
there it is.
I don't want you to tin soldier in there.
Yeah, it's sharp, isn't it?
Yeah, so I want you to get up, sit on here, and then I'll put the ladder there.
Yep.
So if you want to climb down, I'll just get the ladder back out of there, because this will go down on top of that little hatch.
Yeah, so you just have to lift it up. Let the bubbles subside. Ice plunge challenge, eh?
Without the plunge, you sort of have to climb in, which is the sucky part of it.
Oh,
Is it really, really cold?
pretty cold. It's not too bad. So this came off in winter.
As soon as you can, just turn around so you can grab that concrete and support yourself well.
I'm holding the concrete. I've got my foot on the top of the ladder.
This is at the end of winter.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, that top got blown off in the last big storm, like a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And I've been too chicken to jump in.
Yeah, so the inspection hatch has gone in, so we're just going to dive down and get it.
I'm not. We're not. You are.
I am. So I'll just step down the ladder now. Oh, this is the easy bit. It's going under that's going to be hard.
Don't be a pussy, come on.
I can't feel my legs.
Well, soon you won't be able to feel your head and everything will be good.
Oh. Gonna come. Oh, I can lift the ladder and grab it, right?
Yeah, here you go. Come on, we're gonna run out of battery.
Okay. I don't want to do it.
You're in.
Okay. How much further do I have to go down though? That's the thing.
At your feet. You have to go down to your feet. You're standing on the thing.
Yeah, no, I'm not standing on the thing yet. I couldn't feel it.
It's straight under the ladder.
I know. I must have gone too far back. I must have gone too far back.
You want me to get the ladder out the way?
I think I'll be fine.
Did you get it?
Yeah. I have it. Whilst I didn't take a thermometer, as this tank is in the shade over autumn and winter, I expect the water was probably around 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Not quite as cold as the nice bath, but having to dive my head under did result in a headache. And diving into the slimy dark tank to retrieve that inspection hatch was also extremely spooky. As you can imagine, I was quite relieved that I found the inspection hatch on my second attempt. I told you it was cold. Don't let it fall in again, Dale.
Well, try not to have too many storms.
I've had my cold plunge, feeling refreshed I suppose, but now I've got to tackle probably a little bit more of an unpleasant job. I noticed 2 days ago when I was checking our broody hens, I lifted her up to see if there was any fresh eggs under her and just saw like swarms of little tiny red mites, but pinhead size, like all over, like just swarming all underneath and in the eggs and in her laying box. Didn't notice them in the laying box next to her, so I just scooped out all that bedding and put fresh bedding down for her. And then I was going to go and get some treatment for them. I'm going to go get diatomaceous earth, and I forgot yesterday. So Troy went out and got diatomaceous earth today. Diatomaceous earth is supposed to do a really good job of to prevent them and also help treat them. I'm also going to be using sulfur. So tonight I'm going to rub down the hens with diatomaceous earth and sulfur, just because I've noticed that they all seem to have mites now. They're preening themselves a lot more and shivering and quivering a lot more than they normally do. But first things first, I need to get in there this afternoon while the babysitter's here and just clean out all the bedding, get rid of all of it, and put a whole lot of new bedding down, put some diatomaceous earth down first in all the cracks. I won't get the leaf blower out because I think it will upset the broody hen. So I'm just going to get in there and sweep everything out, put the diatomaceous earth down, and then put a whole new lot of bedding in. So I've only got an hour to get it done, so I've really got to hurry up. I made up an immediate treatment for our broody hens before I went down to clean the coop. This treatment was diatomaceous earth with a few large tablespoons of sulfur mixed in. The commercial mite treatment at our local stock feed store had sulfur and rotenone poison in it. I wanted to try treating the chickens naturally without introducing poison into the coop, so that's why I'm having a go at this treatment first. I already had the sulfur at hand, as I use this as a natural supplement for our animals in their food to keep parasites at bay. Diatomaceous earth is inert and safe to humans and animals. It is made up from fossilised remains of hard-shelled microalgae. The microscopically sharp fossil shards scratch the mites' waxy shells and lodge in their joints. This in turn causes them to dehydrate and die. Before I started cleaning the coop, I put a few spoonfuls of the treatment I mixed up for our broody hens, making sure I got a nice coating over their plumage. The diatomaceous earth will be effective for as long as it remains in the coop. The bag cost us $50, but I think it was well worth it to ensure our chickens are not too harassed by the mites, which feed off their blood at night. I've read that in large quantities it has the possibility to affect their eyes and damage their lungs when breathed in, but would be interested to know what your experiences have been using it with your backyard chickens and whether you agree with this theory. I was grateful that it was quite windy when I decided to do this job, so a lot of the mites were getting blown away whilst I scooped the sawdust laden with manure and mites into the wheelbarrow. I took this down to the garden and put it in a pile ready to spread on it once the mites had all died or dissipated. Even with all the clothing I had on and the strong breeze, I could still feel them crawling all over me once I was finished. Here you can see them just getting active as the sun is setting in the nesting boxes. After cleaning out the boxes, I coated them with diatomaceous earth and fresh bedding. I also brushed out all of the mites that had already come out on the lid.
Myself and my farm assistant here, we've just been checking out these amazing pastures. So spring has come back to us and we've had some really good growth. If you've been with us for a while, you may have seen that when we came to caretake this place, what we inherited was some pretty rough pasture. Lots of Guildford grass, there was some thistle, not really much food value on here, just because there's been no one sort of stewarding this for a while. But now we can see that we've got really great growth here. So if you wanted to go back and look through some of those videos, what we did was we were basically strip grazing with pigs. We were using them to turn the soil, get rid of some of those noxious weeds, expose the bulbs, in particular of the Guildford grass, a particular weed, expose that to the air where the parrots could see it. They came down, they cracked it, they destroyed it. And now that that competition's gone and we've had some disturbance getting those weed seeds up, we've got this really great pasture here now. It's like fantastic, even despite like a very hard summer. We had a mild winter this year, quite nice. And now spring has got quite good rain and we're getting very, very good growth. We've got happy goats here at the moment. You can see behind us, you can see some chickens walking there. We've got 2 cows and they are maintaining our 9 acres, so it looks maybe not like a golf course, but you know, it's pretty good. So our goal was always to get this block suitable for ruminants. So we don't actually have pigs on the block anymore. We've moved some away. They're breeding happily in the next town over, and some of them we use to feed 130 guests at our wedding. So I'm married now.
If you're interested in taking a spring tour of our pasture and the garden, you can check out last week's video. In that video, we also mentioned that we are planning on harvesting Astrid's beautiful Jersey Cross Charolais heifer calf Beatrix this summer, once the last of the lush spring feed has dried up. After rehoming and processing all of our remaining pigs this winter, our freezers are quite full, and I have been on a mission to use up and preserve some of the older, bulkier items so we have more room when the time comes in January to process our cow. First, I gathered as many of the pork trotters as I could find and placed them all in our pressure cooker. I wanted to make a thick, unctuous and gelatinous broth. I'm keeping it simple, just adding water to the brine trotters so that I can use the broth in many different iterations in the kitchen. I was hoping that the final product won't be too salty, so I may be able to use this stock as gelatin to create nutritious sweet gummies using fresh fruit and berries this summer for my family. When making bone broths and stocks, if time allows, I will strain away all the initial liquid the bones or meat were cooked in after the first few minutes on the boil. I then scrub the bones, put them back in the pot and refill with water, bringing it again back to the boil. This removes any impurities and results in a much cleaner looking and tasting stock. I also pulled out 2 packets of chicken feet and necks. This was the very last of our chicken meat from when we processed all those chickens back in May last year. I cooked the chicken necks and feet outside on the gas hob, and I used them to make a gelatinous stock that we will use for meals for the rest of the week. We also ended up stir frying the boiled chicken's feet in a Chinese style sauce, but this is probably not to everyone's taste and can make folks a bit squirmy, so I didn't film it this time. In my freezer clear out, I also came across a large mound of caul fat left over from processing one of our pigs last year. Caul fat is the fat that lines the gut cavity of the pig, and Troy and I had put it aside last year, thinking that we may be able to use it for some sort of cooking experiment. So here I am pulling it out and having a go at making faggots or crepinettes. I mixed together plenty of parsley, garlic and shallots into 2 kilograms of pork mince to create the meatballs. I found it quite satisfying to wrap the meatballs in their little caul blankets, and the end result was quite tasty. We had them plain with sauce and mashed potatoes, and we also ended up putting them in a broth with vegetables later in the week. So this week I noticed that one of the broody hens, she just gave up on sitting on her eggs. She is really sad actually. She'd sat on them for like 2.5 weeks, so they were about to hatch, maybe even nearly close to 3 weeks. They actually had proper little chicks inside them, but she let them go cold. It was really quite sad. I assume she was covered in mites, and I assume she was probably like, I'm not going to sit and raise these chicks for them to hatch into this mite-ridden, infested place. Like, maybe they wouldn't have made it. They probably wouldn't have been very healthy. So perhaps That's what happened. We weren't going to go down the route of putting them in an incubator and looking after those chicks ourselves. It's such a big responsibility. I don't think the chickens are as robust when we raise them themselves. They're much better to be raised by an Australorp mum, be shown the way how to forage for food and all the things like that. I've noticed that chickens that we raise in the breeders, they're more reliant on us for food, and they're just, yeah, they're not as robust, and they do seem to get sicker easier and all those sorts of things. So it's really sad that we lost 4 little chicks. 4 of those eggs had beautiful little chicks inside, but I just think that there wasn't the right environment for that chicken to raise them. There's another chicken that's sitting on 6 eggs. I haven't candled them to see if there's little chicks inside, but I have been monitoring in the laying boxes, and I spread that diatomaceous earth all around the coop and in the laying boxes, and I think that's killed a lot of them. But what's happened in the nesting boxes is there's a roof, a lid, and the mites are nesting in there in the wood and in the cracks and in the spots where I couldn't get the diatomaceous earth. So I just noticed that there's a whole fresh lot of eggs hatching and all mites swarming on top of the roof. Really horrible. And just to have our hens sitting there in eggs with these mites above her head, just really quite horrible. So I came down while the baby was napping at lunchtime and wiped the whole roof down and all the sides of the laying boxes with vinegar. I didn't dilute it or anything, I just went strong vinegar, and that seemed to have flushed them out. And now I've just mixed a solution of sulfur and water, and I'm just going to paint the roof in sulfur, and I don't think that they can lay their eggs and be on there with all that sulfur. That's one of the components in the mite powder that you can put on the proprietary mite powder you can buy at the stock feed store here, and put it on them. So diatomaceous earth, sulfur, and then a poison. But I really don't want to use the poison. I want to use that as a last resort. So I'm going to try just painting sulfur onto the laying boxes, and then I'm going to come back and spread a bit more diatomaceous earth mixed with sulfur on the hens tonight, and hopefully we've nailed it. I went and had a really good look in where they all roost and inside there, and that's just a floor of diatomaceous earth and a little bit of sawdust, and there doesn't seem to be any sign of mites or eggs in there. You can see there's diatomaceous earth all over the walls, so the chickens are like shook themselves and dusted themselves in there, and you can actually see it's like scattered all over inside there. So I'm pretty confident that they're not breeding in that part of the coop. It's just these laying boxes that I've got to get on top of, and I'd really love to have some little chicks for spring. So I hope that she can stick it out and we can get rid of these last lot of mites now. So I'm gonna paint it. Probably quite good to get some sunlight in here as well. Oh, she's gone to another spot onto other eggs. Oh, I don't know what's going on. Are you going to sit on your eggs, or... Oh, I don't know. I just don't know. They're the marked eggs, but she's sitting there, so I don't know. We've got a few mites, but not many. She's covered in mites. Let's get her covered in powder anyway. Here you go, darling. Let's get you covered in diatomaceous earth anyway. We'll definitely have to come and candle these eggs to see if there's any chicks in them. I mean, she has been sitting on them for 2 weeks, but like, this is just upsetting them because I've been trying to treat this to get rid of the mites. So she's just getting confused and sitting on the wrong eggs as I remove the bedding and change things around in here. So these are the mites here. There was like thousands of them. This is like only a few. So I've noticed that they're like breeding in the cracks, so I'm just gonna paint the sulfur into the cracks. Now, I didn't see this online or anything. I'm just going with I'm just trying whatever I can so I don't have to use poison. Anyway, I'll kill this, and we're going to go to Perth for 3 days, and I'll come back to you and we'll have a look in here in 3 days' time, and hopefully There's no mites when I lift the lid. It's been quite sad lifting the lid and seeing them all under here. This is sawdust that we get from the local pallet company, and it does quite a good job as bedding in here for our chickens. I can kind of just scrape the layer of manure off and then keep top dressing it as we go along. It definitely absorbs all the smell of the excrement and it's just like pure carbon, so it stops smelling there, and everything seems to have been going really well. We haven't really had any issues with the coop until this bird mite outbreak, so I'm hoping we can get on top of it. I'm going to put this sawdust down, and then I'm going to sprinkle even more diatomaceous earth on top. They've had a week with basically just diatomaceous earth and a very thin sprinkling of sawdust. I'm just giving them a bit more because we're going away for 3 days and they're going to be locked in here for 3 days. They can't just go out on free range all day. So there's going to be a much higher manure load in here. I've brought the goats down here with me. I feel like they miss out a little bit on getting forage and grass and things like that, being locked up in their enclosure, but we really can't let them out or put them, control them like we can with the cows, because they do test the electric fence, so that solid enclosure with 6 hard wires of fence is the only way we found we can keep them in. But it is nice to let them out twice a day and let them have a browse on the grasses and also any of the trees and leaves that they fancy. I've noticed that their health has deteriorated lately, which is a bit sad. I just haven't spent the time feeding them the minerals like I normally do. So I went to cut their hoofs a few days ago and noticed that foot rot had set in. I'd never seen foot rot on them before. And I can only put it down to, it's not particularly wet at the moment, I can only put it down to that I have stopped giving them their copper, and they really do need their copper, especially on this property. So I've started soaking their barley in copper again, also giving them dolomite and sulfur, and also I have started giving them borax, which seems really crazy because there's poison written all over the little container that borax is in, but we don't have any boron here in the soil, so our feed doesn't contain any boron for our animals, and it can lead to arthritis in goats, and I suspect that is the cause of their arthritis. When they walk around they have a creaking sound, and I've noticed it for several months now and haven't done anything about it. And then when I was reading up on foot rot, I came across why they might have arthritis, and it sort of all clicked. So this is based on the Natural Goat Care book by Pat Colby that I have mentioned before. If I follow that book and I look after them based on her instructions, then I don't have any health issues with my goats. So I'm going back to that. I'm feeding them a ration every day that has all the minerals that they need, and I'm hoping that their health will get better, because they are pregnant and I am expecting babies in the summer, and if they're not healthy then you can have a lot of issues when it comes to kidding time, or you can have miscarriage and you can have all sorts of things happen. So really important that they have the minerals that they need to thrive. Unfortunately, that chicken coop, the nesting boxes, they still have mites in them, and that last chicken, the one that was broody, she just gave up about a week ago. She was not long off as well, and I did candle the eggs and 2 of them had chicks in there, but I don't think that the chicks would have had survived. The eggs had gone cold. So again, she was just so infested with mites, the poor thing. I think she'd gone anemic, like her comb had gone from a deep red colour to like a pinky grey colour. Her feathers had lost all their lustre and colour, and she just wasn't doing very well. So I've been looking after her. I've been making sure when I see her, I've been mashing up bits of liver and giving that to her, and she's been tucking it, and she's actually recovering really well. Treating those nesting boxes, Troy and I are going to torch them with his flame torch thing. I'll show you that, because I've just noticed that where I've packed the sulfur in there aren't any mites, but there's different spots now that do have mites, and I'm thinking if we torch it,
kill it with fire,
and then if I jam sulfur in all of the crevices that I missed, we might actually get on top of it. And if this doesn't work, I will succumb to going and getting the poison, but I've got one more last ditch attempt, and I'd really appreciate it if you guys have any tips on dealing with these bird mites to let me know in the comments below before I go and buy the rotinine poison for them. Anyway, I look forward to reading all your comments below. Let me know if there's anything in particular you'd like us to cover on the channel.
I'm definitely going to get into the kitchen more and do some more filming of what I'm cooking up there. I'm glad that I've cleared out all those strange items, the feet and the trotters and everything that seemed to be sitting on top of the freezer and needed to be used up. But now we can get into making some interesting things in the kitchen this spring and summer as the produce starts to boost. And yeah, we're going to be busy in the garden sowing seeds, planting some seedlings that we already have, and just doing a general renovation so that we can get some nice food growing in there. And we want to set up our drip irrigation this year because the overhead irrigation just wasn't very efficient. So yes, lots to do, but we're definitely at the farm doing things. So thank you to each and every one of you that watch, and thanks even more to those of you that like and subscribe. It really helps us out. And a big special thank you to those of you that support us. You know who you are, and you're very important to us. You're the reason why we can keep making these videos. And with that, we'll leave you there.